guys, welcome back to the Bass Tutor. My name is Tyler Fry and I'm the Bass Tutor. So guys, today we're continuing the beginner bassing series here on the YouTube channel. And I figured what better way to do this than show you the third knot in my top 3 favorite knots. The reason these are my top 3 favorite knots is because they're my most used. And so far we went over the Palomar, the improved clinch, and today we're going over how to tie the loop knot. So if you want to check out the other 2 videos, I'm going to link them down below. And now we're going to go ahead and get into this loop knot video. So you're asking yourself, what would I use a loop knot for? It sounds kind of silly. Isn't it used by crappie fishermen? What do I need that for? Well, the reason you're going to need that in bass fishing is typically going to be for these things right here. Topwater baits, your walking baits, your frogs, things of that nature. And what that's going to do is it's going to simplify how these lures walk. Okay? If you don't know what a walk is, what that is whenever a lure is on top of the water and it goes side to side with a real erratic motion like that. But a lot of people struggle on making these lures walk. So something like this frog, whenever you're first beginning on walking the topwater, it'll just sit there and go straight. Just like that. And you say, well, that would probably entice a bite. Yeah, it will, but there's a lot of times that this bait needs to be going side to side with these legs kicking, okay? And then just out of nowhere, a big old bass will just come up and devour this frog. So, what can you do to make your lures walk better? Well, one of the biggest things to do is your knot. So, let's go ahead and show you how to tie this loop knot. So, I'm going to show you how to tie it with braid. This is Suffix 832. You can also tie it on monofilament. You can tie it on fluorocarbon, but you don't want to throw topwater on fluorocarbon. But if you were wanting to throw something like, say, a swim bait, you can use it with that. I have thrown swim baits on the loop knot, and it works out good. I'm not really sure if it helps out a lot. I've, experimented around with that, but that's a later topic. So, you can tie it on any type of line. And so, what you're going to do is you're going to take your line, and you're going to run it. Well, first let's start off with the frog. You're going to run it through this loop on the lure that you're tying it on. Alright, now you want to run it up here to your other hand. So you see all I did was I run it through the loop and I brought it back to myself. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pinch this line up here and we're going to take and wrap the line around our fingers and create a loop. So if you can see that, what I've done is I've created a loop right there with my fingers. Now you want to run this lure through this loop. So what you want to do when you're tying this is make sure that you have enough room in your loop to get your lure back through. And that's why I've done the frog first, so I can show you a quick trick in a minute to get these treble hooks through there. So now we've got our loop. We're going to run it through here 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. So right now we're able to measure and put this knot wherever we want it on this line. If you want it far up, you can go ahead and just pull it tight right here. Okay, but if you would rather have it closer to the frog, what you could do is take this loop and take your finger and pull it down slowly. So you can see I've got my finger up here pinching these 2 lines, and I'm slowly pulling down and tightening as I get it down toward the frog. So I've got it about 1 inch away from that frog, and that's where I want it. But if I wanted it closer, I could just keep pulling the top of the line right like so, and it'll come as close as you want. Now what you're going to want to do is wet it. You can put it in the water, you can put it in your mouth, whatever you want to do, just wet the line so you don't burn it. Just as quick as that, and now I'm going to pull it tight. And now you can see how small that little knot is. It's completely out of the way. It's just, it's up there and it's got a complete loop up here. So that lure is able to walk anywhere in this line. Alright, so as you twitch your rod tip, what this frog, per se, is going to do is it's going to keep going on that line, just like so, on that little track. And that's making that frog walk with that little loop knot. Now, sometimes a loop knot's going to get tangled up in grass and weeds and stuff, and it may not be the best option. Sometimes the Palomar's going to be a little bit better. But, the loop knot, from my experience, I've never had a problem tying this loop knot on a frog or any other walking bait for that matter. So now let's get into it. Let's do it on a bait with treble hooks, because everybody knows most walking baits are going to have treble hooks except for a frog. So it's a little bit more difficult whenever you've got a treble hook around braided line. So what I'm going to do, the only major difference that I do is two things whenever I'm tying it with treble hooks. Number one, I'm going to be a lot more careful because I don't want one of these little thin diameter hooks in my finger. Number two thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little bit longer or wider loop. So what we'll do, we'll run our line through our eyelet of our hook or of our bait, and I'm going to bring it out a little bit further than I did with that frog. Okay, so right there I brought it out a good probably 10 inches, I'd say. Now we're going to pinch the line, wrap it around your fingers. But this time, instead of going between our fingers, since we have treble hooks, I like to kind of take it off of my fingers, off of all four of them, and just use two at the end. Now you're going to be very, very careful right here and bring the treble hooks through there. 1, 2, and 3. Again, we're able to take this finger, our index finger down here, and we're able to measure this knot wherever we want it. And we'll put mine about right here, and I'll wet it, pull it tight, and now we've got a loop knot. Now all you gotta do is cut your tag end off and go fishing. So I know you're thinking this tiny knot right there is probably not that strong. But let me tell you, I've never had a problem with it as long as I've been tying it. And that might just be my experience, but that's the simplest way that I've learned to tie a loop knot, and it's been the strongest. Honestly, it's held up through plenty of fish. It's caught stripers, it's caught crappie, it's caught largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass. It's caught them all. And I've been nothing but impressed with this knot when it comes to walking the lures. It makes it a lot more simple when you're first beginning and you're getting frustrated and you want to throw your frog rod in the pond because guess what? You can't walk the frog. Or you're wanting to take your topwater rod and throw it in the lake because you can't walk that spook over those schooling fish. So whatever the case is, it's going to help simplify it. And even if you're really great at working the lure, you're going to be able to work your lure and walk it a lot slower with this loop knot. That's one of the best things that I've found about the loop knot, is in times whenever normally you get in a cadence when you're popping your rod tip. And whether you realize it or not, when you're in that cadence, you kind of get a rhythm and you want to kind of speed up a little bit. Now, some people aren't as bad as others. Some people start real slow and then just next thing you know, it's the rod tips bouncing and the frogs are all the way back to them. But no matter what you're doing, you kind of tend to speed it up as you go. So what this does is I'm able to, instead of having to have that cadence with the topwater, a lot of times I'll just pop it once, it'll kick sideways, pop it again, it'll kick sideways. A real slow cadence with this topwater bait. Especially right now in the dog days of summer when it's super hot outside and these fish, they're not active. I'm going to take and I'm going to go get a huge topwater. This is one of my favorite ways to catch largemouth in the summertime. I like to get me a big walking bait over these deep clear lakes, and I like to pop it real slow and let it walk and wait a couple seconds between every time I pop that thing. And let me tell you, those big fish, they'll come up and eat it. It may not be every single time you're out, but if you're just going big fish hunting, give that a shot. So guys, I hope you learned something about tying a loop knot, and I hope you're able to get out there and use this thing. It's become a really used bait, or a really great used knot in my arsenal, and I use it constantly. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, share it with a friend who needs to learn how to tie the loop knot. Let them know that they need to watch my videos so they can be as good an angler as you. Thanks for watching. Make sure to get out there and wait a line. We'll see you guys later.